Hey, what's going on, Cowboys Nation, man? Thank y'all for tuning in. And basically, man, I'm just going to, harp on a few things that we as a nation, we as Cowboy fans already agree on. And I'm just going to put my, 2 cents into the pot. So basically, it's about business or winning games, Super Bowl or ratings, prosperity, winning, um, overall history, selling tickets or selling jerseys, TV ratings. And you see it multiple times, man. I recall during this past season, at some point, you hear from Jerry Jones' his own mouth. They asked him about football, about a game in particular. And the first thing he said was, I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the quote up, but he basically was saying, I'm happy we sold the most tickets, or I think it was about the tickets thing based on the whole pandemic, and that was the first thing he mentioned. It's crazy to me that they try to put this whole narrative out that they care about winning and they want to build a team and they want to do it their way. The thing is, this is their business. Time and time again, they show us that they're about business over winning games. And now you see the news with Cooper and Tank possibly being cut. Now the thing with this is that I highly doubt they do this, but the business part of it gets everybody going. It gets everybody talking about it. The fans on Twitter, the analysts, on the letter networks, they're discussing these things about the Cowboys. And we all know, like, all publicity is good publicity. You know what I mean? So the thing is that they do this every year. They generate key guys to focus on in the off season, whether it's about money or injuries or suspensions. Well, I'm not gonna blame the suspension part on them, but just the aura that comes with it. You know what I mean? Like, every player that's basically been suspended or hurt or renegotiating contracts or something to that effect, they become the main focus in the off season. And then in most of the times, it's just talk. It's just about keeping the Cowboys in the news. As long as the Cowboys are in the news, they're making money. They're the focal point of the NFL. And it's beyond that. It's to the coaches as well. Like, you see it with Sean Payton Sean Payton retiring and leaving the Saints. Now all of a sudden another can of worms is open, because as soon as he was released, we hear words about him possibly coming to Dallas. Yeah, I just find it weird, man. It's the simple fact that the drafting, they really rely on the draft completely, like, so hardly and completely rely on the draft. And it's to the point now where it's like, all right, man, no matter how great we draft, or no matter how good we draft compared to other teams, because when I say that, based off of just how good we draft and to the level we're on, we're basing that on how bad other teams are. You know what I mean? So if you're just the best of the average, then you're just the best of the average. It's not like you're just so great. You may not be the best drafting team in history, but based on right now with these average teams that's a part of the league right now and the way they draft, we're better than those guys. We made a few mistakes here and there as far as certain players we should have drafted, but besides that, I can't really complain on the draft. But when you're relying on the draft and then you're focusing on day 6 or like the last 2 days of free agency, This is what we get. You get players that, you know, oh, they're nervous, and players aren't targeted. And that's not really the player's fault. That's more of the overall scheme. But when you get players that know their ability and they're confident, they speak out because they know what they can do, a la Dez Bryant. Now, we can say whatever we want about Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant's last year on the Cowboys, he wasn't the worst. He wasn't even that bad. He wasn't targeted. He wasn't being used to his ability, which made him, you know, lose a little bit of confidence in himself and become a little vulnerable, because he's like, why aren't you guys using me? Like, why am I not getting the ball? I'm beating my guy on my route. And it's to the point where, you know, you see the same thing with Coop. So what's the same similarities between Coop's situation and Dez Bryant's situation? The offense, the way we run the offense. It was different coordinators at the time, but it's the same tree. They don't want to force guys open. They don't want to force the ball to certain people. They want to, we're going to let the play develop and we're going to hit the open guy. That doesn't work all the time. You have to mix that with forcing the ball to your number one targets. You have to. If you don't do that, then are you really giving your team the best chance to win? We seen, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. We seen him shoot the ball 2-3 players because he was the best option. He felt like me shooting the ball on 2 grown men is better than passing the ball to somebody else that's not ready to make the play. And you've seen it with the NFC playoff game against the 49ers. They targeted Cedric Wilson more times than Cooper. I felt like most of the season, Ced was getting, I understand that's how the play develops, you know, he's in the slot, whatever. Cooper needs the ball, man. You don't pay this man $20 million just to target him less than CeeDee Lamb, and then in critical drives, you're favoring Ced Wilson over Cooper. And then in the offseason, we want to talk about getting rid of Cooper. We want to get rid of the person that demands the ball because he know his guy can't guard him. And then you want to call plays that limits his production. Now, see, this is what makes me feel like a lot of this stuff is business. Because on offense, I feel like like everybody above the head coach, like on the Jerry Jones level, I feel like they have an input offensively. And then when you're trying to limit those guys, you either want to limit their market or make it seem like the contract you give them isn't, they're not living up to the contract. So how do you do that? Okay, we're not going to give Cooper the ball. We're going to make it look like Cooper's regressing. Same thing with Dez Bryant. The same thing with Dez Bryant, man. When Dez Bryant was out here beating guys, getting open, he wasn't getting the ball. And then he'll finish the game with 3 targets, and they're like, "Oh, well, man, listen, if you can't produce," it's like, bro, you're literally keeping me from producing. Like, the quarterback is not passing me the ball, and then you're calling plays to not target me. And then you have the slogan of the scheme is to feed the open man instead of forcing me the ball. And even when I'm open, you don't pass me the ball. So is it really like icing me out? And this is how it is, man. Once these certain guys get this money, these contracts, I think they limit them in their production to either, if they're free agents, they want to limit their production so they can sign them for cheap. And I totally believe that with Michael Gallup. Like, there's no way they just leave Michael Gallup out for like the first 8 games. Now the ACL, that's probably not, that probably doesn't really relate to this. But for him to be out those first 8 games, or I think he played the first game. For him to be out like 7 games after that, It's nonsense. For DeMarcus Lawrence to be out for however many games he was out, it's nonsense. And like I'm saying, it's like it's all about production. Like, okay, listen, at the end of the season, we're gonna look at your production. Now, I think they did that to basically help out Michael Gallup and making him eligible to return by if he takes a team friendly deal. You know what I mean? It's going to be like the word on the street is that, you know, he was hurt and he needs a prove it deal. So we'll be able to get him for cheap. So I 100% believe we'll see Michael Gallup, number 13, back on the Cowboys this year. And that was their plan, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't have proof, but this is just the proof is in the pudding. Is if you see how the Cowboys operate. We see it. So now when you look at just the off season, man, we have to stay in the media. We have to stay being talked about. So we're going to bash Cooper, we're going to bash Tank, and we're going to talk about our coaches. We're going to talk about coordinators. Like, everybody is getting basically stabbed in the back right now, thrown under the bus, if you would say. And it's basically about a situation to keep the Cowboys business thriving. You know what's not been down since in the last 26 years? Cowboy ticket prices, Cowboys merchandise, Cowboys in the media, Cowboys tickets. The Cowboys stock has been rising while we're not winning. The regular season matters. That's where they make all their money. The off season matters. That's where they make all the money. And then they still can make money, and like during the Super Bowl. Let's put a rumor out there that we're going to cut Amari Cooper. We're thinking about cutting Amari Cooper. Let the NFL analysts and let the fans talk about it during the 2 weeks in between the AFC and NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. Those little great, because the Pro Bowl ain't nothing. So them little 2 weeks right there, man. Let's put some Cowboys news in the air, man. Put some drama out there. Let them talk about us. I digress, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a good one.